No one sees.
The palace gates opened for a ragged servant no one noticed. Her shoes were dusty. Her hands carried laundry. Her head stayed bowed. But hidden beneath the torn cloak was the ancient moon crest of the first lunar queen. She had come to see the woman her son wanted to marry. Before sunset, insults would be spoken, lies would be exposed, and a powerful pack would fall to its knees. Because the servant they mocked was the mother of the Alpha King. The servant at the gate. No one bowed when she arrived. That was the first mistake. The gates of Silverfang Palace were carved from ancient black oak, wrapped in iron chains etched with moon runes. They had opened for kings, generals, victorious hunters, and noble brides from distant packs. But that morning, they opened for a servant woman carrying a basket of folded linens. Rainwater dripped from the hem of her faded cloak. Mud stained the edges of her dress. Her hair, streaked with silver and chestnut brown, was tied beneath a plain scarf. The guards barely looked at her. Kitchen deliveries through the side corridor, one barked. She lowered her gaze respectfully. "Yes, sir." Her voice was soft. A little hoarse. Harmless. The second guard snorted. "Move quickly. Lady Seraphina hates delays." At the name, something flickered in the woman's eyes. Lady Seraphina. So that was the bride candidate. She nodded once and stepped through the gates. No one noticed how the runes carved into the stone walls glowed faintly as she passed. No one noticed the old wolves stationed above the towers suddenly straightened in silent instinct. No one recognized Queen Selene, former lunar queen of the northern clans, mother of Alpha King Kael Draven. She had ruled beside her late mate for 40 years. She had ended blood wars, united broken packs, and once commanded armies with a single raised hand. Then, after her mate's death, she vanished from court life. Many believed age had softened her. Many believed grief had broken her. Many believed wrong things. Now she had returned in secret. Not to reclaim power. Not yet. She came for one purpose only. To see the woman her son planned to marry. And to learn whether she loved Kael. Or only wanted his throne. Inside the palace, chaos ruled. Servants ran through marble halls carrying flowers, polished goblets, silk banners, and trays of food. Musicians tuned harps in the west wing. Nobles arrived from neighboring packs wearing jewels and arrogance. Tonight would be the moon-binding banquet. At sunset, Alpha King Kael would officially announce his chosen bride before the gathered packs. Lady Seraphina Vale. Daughter of a wealthy southern bloodline. Beautiful. Educated. Perfect on paper. And completely unknown to Queen Selene. Selene moved silently through the corridors, memorizing everything. The palace had changed. Walls once decorated with warrior murals now displayed expensive portraits. Fresh flowers replaced battle standards. Perfume masked the scent of steel. Too soft, she thought. Too false. As she entered the laundry chamber, a young maid nearly collided with her. "Oh, forgive me." The girl looked barely 16, cheeks flushed with panic. Selene steadied her basket. "No harm done." The maid glanced around nervously. "You're new. For today. Then be careful. Lady Seraphina is cruel when stressed." Selene tilted her head. "Cruel?" The girl swallowed. She slapped Mara yesterday because tea was warm instead of hot. Selene's fingers tightened on the basket. "I see. And her friends are worse." The maid hurried off. Selene watched her go, expression unreadable. Cruelty to servants. A revealing scent. At noon, she saw Seraphina for the first time. The future bride stood in the grand mirror hall surrounded by ladies in embroidered gowns. Her beauty was undeniable, golden hair pinned with moon pearls, elegant posture, flawless skin, lips painted crimson. But her eyes were empty. Sharp. Cold. Impatient. "No, no, no," Seraphina snapped. "These roses are blush pink. I requested moon white." A florist trembled. "My lady, the white blooms were damaged in rain. Then pick them by hand from the cliffs if you must." Her companions laughed. Selene entered quietly carrying fresh towels. Serafina didn't look at her. "Servant," she said, pointing lazily. "Clean the floor. There's water near my shoes." Selene glanced down. A single droplet. She knelt without argument and wiped it. One of the noble ladies smirked. "Careful, old woman. Those shoes cost more than your lifetime." Laughter again. Selene rose slowly. Still bowed. Still silent. But every wolf in the room suddenly shifted uneasily. Predators sensed something their minds did not understand. Serafina frowned. "Why are you staring? Leave." "Yes, my lady." Selene walked out. Behind her, the mirror nearest Serafina cracked down the center. Everyone screamed. Selene did not turn around. Later that afternoon, Alpha King Kale returned from border patrol. The palace shook with excitement. He strode through the main hall in black leather armor dusted from travel, broad-shouldered, silver-eyed, jaw-shadowed with stubble. He radiated command like heat from fire. Servants bowed deeply. Nobles smiled too quickly. Women stared openly. Kale noticed none of it. "Where is Serafina?" he asked. "In the Rose Gallery, my king." He nodded. Then paused. A scent. Ancient cedar. Winter moonlight. Home. His eyes narrowed. He turned sharply, scanning the hall. Nothing. Only servants. Only guards. Only strangers. Selene stood among them holding a tray, head lowered. For one suspended second, mother and son stood 10 paces apart. Kale's wolf stirred violently, but Serafina's voice rang from the staircase. "Kale." She descended gracefully, arms open. The moment broke. Kale embraced her politely. Selene watched everything. The embrace was practiced. His smile was thin. His scent held no bonfire. Interesting. Very interesting. That evening, the kitchens erupted preparing the pre-banquet feast. Selene volunteered beside sweating cooks and exhausted maids. She chopped herbs faster than girls half her age. She kneaded dough with the strength of a warrior. Soon whispers spread. "Who is she? She works like 5 people. She scares me." A heavy cook laughed nervously. "Old mother, where did you train?" Selene smiled faintly. "War." They assumed it was a joke. Then Mara entered crying quietly, cheek swollen red. Selene set down her knife. "Who did this?" Mara wiped tears. "Lady Serafina." I dropped sauce. The kitchen went silent. Selene touched the girl's face gently. Then she turned to the hearth fire. Without flint. Without spark. The flames rose high in sudden silver light. Everyone gasped. Selene's voice became colder than winter. "No one touches my people." Before anyone could question her words, she walked out. Night approached. Candles were lit across the palace. Music drifted through corridors. Guests filled the grand hall. Selene stood alone on a balcony overlooking the moon gardens. Footsteps approached behind her. "Kale." "You," he said quietly. She did not turn. "My king." He stepped closer, breathing in that impossible scent. "No servant smells like the forest temple." Still she said nothing. His voice lowered. "Who are you?" Selene finally turned. Moonlight touched her face. The scarf slipped slightly, revealing the old royal mark near her throat. Kale froze. His eyes widened. "Mother." She smiled. "Hello, cub." He dropped to one knee instantly, stunned, emotional, furious all at once. "What are you doing here dressed like this?" "Testing your house." "And?" "It failed." Kale exhaled sharply. "You should have sent word. And let masks remain on faces." He rose. "If Serafina disrespected you." "If." Her eyebrow lifted. Kale's jaw hardened. "Tell me everything." Selene stepped closer. "No. I want you to see it yourself." She looked toward the glowing ballroom where laughter echoed. "Tonight, your chosen bride will reveal whether she deserves your name. And if she does not." Selene's silver eyes flashed with terrifying calm. "Then by moonrise, This palace will remember who built it. Kale almost smiled. Gods, how he had missed her. From below, Seraphina called sweetly. My love. Everyone awaits. Selene pulled the servant hood back over her hair. Go, she said. Play your part. Kale stared at her, then nodded once. As he walked away, he felt like a prince again. And somewhere in the ballroom, destiny sharpened its claws. The bride who wanted a crown. The grand hall of Silverfang Palace glittered like a field of captured stars. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings carved with ancient wolves and crescent moons. Hundreds of candles burned in silver sconces. Long banquet tables overflowed with roasted meats, jeweled fruits, sweet breads, goblets of dark wine, and towers of sugared pastries dusted in gold. Music drifted through the chamber, harps, drums, low flutes. But beneath the beauty, tension prowled. Every noble pack leader in the northern territories had come to witness Alpha King Kale announce his future Luna. And every one of them wanted something. Alliance. Power. Influence. Access to the throne. Queen Selene stood unnoticed near the servant entrance, still wrapped in her rough grey cloak, carrying a tray of wine cups. No one looked twice at the old servant. That was their second mistake. Her sharp silver eyes moved across the room, measuring every smile, every whisper, every false bow. She saw Lord Varos of the Eastern Ridge pretending friendship while plotting advantage. She saw Lady Mirel complimenting gowns while insulting bloodlines with her scent. She saw greedy fathers pushing daughters closer to Kale's line of sight. And at the center of it all, Seraphina Vale. Dressed in a shimmering ivory gown stitched with moon crystals, she glided through the hall like a queen already crowned. She laughed too loudly, touched too many arms, accepted admiration as if owed. Every few moments she glanced toward the throne dais, where Kale sat beside an empty silver chair once reserved for his mother. She wanted that chair. Selene knew the look. She had worn crowns long enough to recognize hunger disguised as elegance. Kale sat tall in black formal armor trimmed with silver fur. His face was calm, unreadable. But his wolf was restless. Since seeing his mother on the balcony, nothing in the hall felt the same. He watched Seraphina differently now. Not through duty, through truth. Had he mistaken beauty for worth? Had loneliness made him careless? He hated the question. Seraphina approached the dais with practiced grace. My king, she purred softly enough for nearby nobles to hear. You look troubled tonight. I'm thinking. About our future. About many things. She placed a hand on his shoulder as if she already owned it. Selene noticed Kale did not lean into the touch. Interesting. Seraphina smiled sweetly. Once the announcement is made, I'll begin reorganizing the household. Kale's gaze sharpened. Reorganizing? Yes. Several servants are old, slow, clumsy. Some guards are unpleasant to look at. The West Wing needs renovation. The kitchen staff lacks refinement. Around the room, a few servants stiffened silently. Kale's voice cooled. You've made these decisions already? She laughed lightly. Someone must bring order, darling. Darling. Selene nearly smiled. The girl was digging her own grave with polished nails. The first course was served. Servants moved in elegant lines, placing dishes before guests. Selene joined them, carrying silver bowls of moonroot stew. As she passed Seraphina's table, one of the noble ladies wrinkled her nose dramatically. Must we be served by this one? The woman said. She smells like wet wool. Laughter fluttered around the table. Seraphina didn't laugh. She did worse. She looked directly at Selene and said, some creatures are useful only when silent. Several nobles chuckled harder. Kale's jaw tightened. Selene calmly ladled stew into Seraphina's bowl. Then she leaned close enough that only Seraphina could hear. And some creatures mistake borrowed jewels for power. Seraphina's smile froze. What did you say? Selene straightened. Enjoy your meal, my lady. Then she moved on. Seraphina stared after her, stunned that a servant dared answer back. Her cheeks flushed. Humiliation, even tiny humiliation, was poison to vanity. Across the hall, whispers spread. Who is that old servant? She doesn't tremble. She looked Lady Seraphina in the eye. Did you feel that chill? Even the guards noticed something strange. Every time the servant woman passed, torches flickered silver. Ancient instincts stirred in old wolves present that night. Something powerful walked among them. Something patient. The second course arrived. Roasted stag with spiced berries. Wine flowed more freely. Tongues loosened. Lord Varos raised his goblet. To our future Luna. The room echoed the toast. Seraphina rose gracefully. My honored lords and ladies, she began, voice smooth as silk, I thank you for welcoming me into this glorious house. When I become Luna, I promise prosperity, refinement, and a new era of elegance. Polite applause followed. Selene noted she said when, not if. Seraphina continued, emboldened. There has been too much emphasis on old customs, old blood debts, old warrior traditions. We must move beyond primitive ways. Several older alphas exchanged dark looks. Kale said nothing. So she kept going. The palace itself is trapped in the past. Dusty halls. Ancient relics. Sentimental empty chairs. Her gaze slid toward the silver throne seat beside Kale. The room went still. Even musicians faltered. Selene's eyes narrowed. Seraphina laughed lightly, pretending innocence. Surely we can honor memory without preserving every symbol. Kale's voice cut through the chamber like steel. That chair belongs to my mother. Seraphina tilted her head. Who abandoned court years ago. A collective gasp rippled across the hall. Kale rose slowly. Every instinct in the room screamed danger. You will choose your next words carefully, he said. But pride had already blinded her. I mean no insult, she said, clearly meaning exactly that. Only practicality. If the former queen cared for this kingdom, perhaps she would have remained instead of hiding while others ruled. Selene set down her tray. Enough. Before anyone could breathe, an elderly servant from the lower kitchens hurried past carrying wine. Seraphina, still burning with ego, stepped backward into him. The man stumbled. Red wine splashed across the hem of her ivory gown. The hall froze in horror. Seraphina looked down at the stain. Then at the trembling servant. Her face transformed. You disgusting fool. She struck him across the face so hard he collapsed. Gasps exploded. Kale moved instantly, but Selene moved first. The grey-cloaked servant crossed the room with impossible speed. She caught Seraphina's raised wrist before the second slap landed. The sound of impact never came. Only silence. Seraphina yanked, but could not free herself. How dare you touch me, she hissed. Slowly, Selene lifted her head. For the first time all night, she stood at full height. She seemed taller. Straighter. The room darkened though candles still burned. Her hood fell back. Silver-brown hair spilled over regal shoulders. Ancient moon markings glowed along her throat. The runes carved into the hall walls blazed alive. Every wolf in the chamber dropped instinctively to one knee. Some without understanding why. Some weeping because they did. Kale bowed his head. Mother. Panic shattered across Seraphina's face. No. Selene's voice filled the chamber like thunder wrapped in velvet. You strike servants. She released Seraphina's wrist. You mock elders. One step forward. Seraphina stumbled back. You insult traditions you never bled to preserve. Another step. The chandeliers trembled. And you dare speak of abandonment to the woman who buried a king, defended these lands, and raised the alpha you hoped to leash. Seraphina dropped to her knees. My queen, I didn't know. That, Selene said coldly, is the smallest of your failures. The nobles remained bowed. No one dared lift their eyes. Selene turned to the old servant who had been struck and helped him stand with surprising gentleness. Are you hurt? No, your majesty. She touched his cheek. The swelling faded under silver light. Then she faced the room again. Look well, she commanded. Everyone obeyed. This palace was built by claws, loyalty, sacrifice, and honor. Not gowns. Not flattery. Not greed dressed as grace. Her gaze pinned Seraphina like a blade. You wanted a crown. Seraphina sobbed. Please. You could not even carry kindness. Kale descended from the dais. His face was carved from stone. Seraphina Vale, he said, voice deadly calm, our courtship ends now. She reached for him desperately. Kale, listen to me. He stepped away. Guards. 2 warriors seized her arms. You cannot do this. My father will retaliate. Kale's eyes flashed silver. Then he may join you outside my gates. The guards dragged her screaming from the hall. Her noble companions shrank like smoke. Silence lingered after the doors slammed shut. Then Selene turned to Kale. Do you still question why I came disguised? He exhaled slowly. No. Good. He surprised everyone by smiling faintly. You always did prefer dramatic lessons. A ripple of nervous laughter spread through the room. Selene arched a brow. And you always chose pretty trouble. Even Kale laughed at that. The tension broke. For the first time in years, warmth returned to Silverfang Hall. Kale took his mother's hand and escorted her to the silver chair beside the throne. He knelt before her publicly. Forgive me for leaving it empty so long. Selene touched his hair. It was never the chair that mattered. She looked around the hall. It was whether this house still deserved it. Then she sat a day. And every noble present understood one truth. The true queen had returned. But from the servant rows near the back of the hall, one young woman watched quietly. She wore a simple blue dress, carried an empty tray, and smelled of wild rain, cedar forest, and hidden wolf. Selene noticed her instantly. Their eyes met. The queen smiled very slightly, because destiny, it seemed, had only just entered the room. The mark beneath the skin. Rain began before dawn. Not gentle rain, but heavy northern rain that struck the palace towers like thrown stones. Thunder rolled across the mountains, and lightning flashed against the stained glass windows of Silverfang Palace. Most of the court slept uneasily. Queen Selene did not. She stood in her chamber before a fire, fully dressed in dark traveling robes, silver hair braided over one shoulder. On the table before her lay old maps, sealed letters, and a leather-bound journal no one had seen in 20 years. She opened it slowly. Inside were names, bloodlines, pacts, enemies, and one page torn jaggedly from the center. Selene touched the missing edge. They were thorough, she murmured. A knock came. Enter. Kale stepped inside, jaw tight, shirt half-buttoned, clearly sleepless. You knew, he said. Selene did not look up. About what? The servant girl. I knew she interested fate. Mother. Now she met his eyes. I suspected more after the courtyard. Kale ran a hand through his hair. My wolf won't quiet. Every corridor smells like her, then disappears. I sound mad. You sound mated. I sound cursed. Selene almost smiled. You are upset because destiny ignored your preferences. I had preferences. Yes. Tall gowns and bad decisions. Kale groaned. Then his face hardened again. If someone hid royal blood inside my palace, I want answers. Selene closed the journal. Then wake the truth. Lyra had not slept either. She sat alone in the laundry chamber, knees drawn to her chest, the silver crescent pendant warm in her palm. Since meeting Kale, everything inside her felt wrong. Too loud. Too alive. Her senses sharpened painfully. She heard water in distant pipes. Smelled flour from the kitchens 3 floors away. Felt every heartbeat of servants passing outside the door. And beneath it all, a presence. A wolf pacing behind locked ribs. She pressed her fist to her chest. Please stop. The wolf answered with a pulse of heat. The door slammed open. Master Dorian entered. Tall, thin, immaculate as always, with polished boots and cold eyes. He controlled palace schedules, servant housing, supplies, punishments, and people. You embarrassed me last night, he said. Lyra stood quickly. I saved Mara. You drew attention. She was bleeding. You were told never to display yourself. His voice sharpened on the last words. Lyra frowned. Display myself? He stepped closer. You belong in shadows. Have you forgotten? I belong nowhere under you. The words surprised both of them. Dorian's expression darkened. That queen has filled your head with rebellion. No, Lyra said softly. Only with questions. He seized her wrist. Pain flared. Then stop asking them. The pendant slipped from her hand and struck the floor. Dorian froze. All color drained from his face. He stared at the crescent claw symbol as though seeing a ghost. Where did you get that? Lyra yanked free. Why do you care? He lunged for it. She snatched it first. And in that instant, something beneath her skin ignited. Silver lines raced up her wrist like living moonlight. Dorian staggered backward. No. He whispered, not in fear of her. In fear of what she meant. Then he turned and fled. Cale found Lyra in the old library tower. She had hidden there among dusty shelves and dead king's records. Rain lashed the high windows. He stopped a few steps away. You run often. She didn't turn. You chase often. Only things that matter. That made her glance back. Dangerous mistake. His hair was damp from rain. Shirt sleeves rolled. Eyes bright with restrained storm. No armor. No throne. Just a man too powerful to ignore. I didn't ask for this, she said. Neither did I. What is it? He answered plainly. You are my mate. Her breath caught. The word should have felt absurd. Instead it landed like remembered truth. No, she whispered. I am no one. He crossed the room slowly. I hate when you say that. It's true. It was made true. She frowned. What does that mean? Cale looked toward the rain-slashed window. It means someone taught you to think small. He stood close now. Close enough that her pulse became impossible. My wolf recognized yours before I did, he said. And wolves do not care for rank. Lyra's voice shook. You should. I serve in kitchens. I rule kingdoms. I can survive scandal. Despite herself, she laughed once. Then tears followed immediately. I don't know who I am. Cale's expression softened. Then we learn. He lifted a hand slowly, giving her time to refuse. When his fingers brushed her cheek, silver sparks jumped across her skin. Both of them inhaled sharply. The mark on her wrist blazed beneath her sleeve. Cale stared. What was that? She pulled back, frightened. I don't know. The library doors burst open. Selene entered with 2 guards. Good, she said. You're both here. She saw Lyra's glowing wrist. Then smiled grimly. Better than good. Within the hidden royal chamber beneath the palace, torches burned blue. Few living knew the room existed. Its walls were carved with the first bloodlines of the northern wolves. Names glowed faintly when touched by moonlight. Selene led Lyra to the center stone. Cale followed. What is this place? Lyra whispered. The room where lies come to die, Selene said. She gestured to the stone basin. Put your hand there. Lyra hesitated. Cale nodded once. She obeyed. The moment her palm touched the ancient rock, the entire chamber erupted in silver light. Wind tore through sealed walls. Torches bent sideways. Names on the carvings blazed alive. Then one line burned brighter than all others. House Aurelian. Below it, hidden beneath centuries of soot, new letters carved themselves in light. Lyra Aurelian, last heir. Lyra stumbled back. No. Cale caught her. Selene's face became very still. House Aurelian had once rivaled her own. Ancient allies. Then supposedly slaughtered in a fire 20 years ago. No survivors. Except. They lied, Selene said quietly. Cale looked at her sharply. Who? She met his eyes. Someone in this palace. Lyra shook her head violently. This is wrong. I remember nothing. You were a child, Selene said. Children can be made to forget. How? With fear. Isolation. Repetition. Drugs. Lies. Cale's gaze darkened. Dorian. Selene nodded. He knew the pendant. Lyra pressed both hands to her temples. Fragments flashed. Smoke. Running feet. A woman's voice singing. Arms lifting her through fire. A man saying, "Never let them know the mark." She gasped. "My mother." Then screamed. Her body arched as power ripped through her. Bones cracked. Guards stumbled back. Cale moved forward but Selene stopped him. "Wait." Silver-grey light engulfed Lyra. Her eyes turned molten moon metal. Claws burst from trembling fingers. A howl shook the chamber. Not savage. Royal. Ancient. When the light faded, Lyra stood half-shifted. Wolf ears through dark hair, claws extended, eyes blazing. Terrified. Beautiful. Awake. "I shifted," she whispered. Then looked at Cale like a child lost in storm. "What's happening to me?" He stepped forward this time. No one stopped him. He took her clawed hands in his. "You're becoming what they stole." Above them, alarms rang through the palace. A horn blast. Then another. "Guard emergency." Cale's head snapped up. A soldier burst into the chamber entrance, panting. "My king." "Master Dorian is gone." Selene asked the true question. "What else?" The guard swallowed hard. "The west prison cells have been opened." Cale cursed. Selene's eyes narrowed. Who was inside? The soldier looked sick. 3 rogues captured last month. He hesitated. And a hooded man who refused to give name. Lightning thundered overhead. Selene knew before he spoke further. "Say it." "The cell is empty, my queen." The wall was marked with black ash. Lyra's new instincts flared with dread. "What does that mean?" Selene's voice became ice. "It means the pack that burned your house knows you are alive." Cale unsheathed his blade. "And they've come to finish it." Far beyond the rain-soaked gates, shadows moved through the forest. Dozens of them. Eyes glowing red in the dark. The night the palace burned. The storm broke just after sunset. Wind screamed through the mountain passes. Rain lashed the outer walls. Lightning split the sky above Silverfang Palace, turning towers white for an instant before plunging them back into darkness. Then came the first explosion. The western gate burst inward in a shower of splintered oak and iron. Screams followed. War horns roared from the battlements. Attack. Servants fled through corridors. Nobles overturned tables in panic. Guards rushed half-armored from barracks, blades barely drawn. From the forest surged wolves with eyes like bloodfire. Rogues. Not packless scavengers. Trained killers. Disciplined ranks moved through mud and smoke under black banners marked with a symbol of ash. The same mark found on the prison wall. Cale stood on the highest balcony in battle armor, cloak snapping in the wind. At his side, Queen Selene fastened silver vambraces over old scars. Below them, the palace they had protected all their lives descended into chaos. Cale's jaw tightened. They came faster than expected. Selene drew a curved blade older than most kingdoms. No. They came when they knew Lyra awakened. Lightning flashed. Her face became terrible. Which means they fear her more than they fear us. Lyra stood in the armory chamber, trembling. Not from fear. From too much power. Every sense screamed at once. She heard swords clashing 3 halls away. Smelled smoke creeping through stone cracks. Felt the pounding feet of warriors below. Her hands still shifted between skin and claws without warning. Her eyes flashed silver-grey in the torchlight. A veteran captain strapped leather armor over her blue servant dress. "It'll do for now," he muttered. "I don't know how to fight." "You know how to survive," he said. "Same bones." Cale entered. The room stilled. Rain glistened on his armor. Blood streaked one gauntlet already. He crossed directly to her. "No heroics. I don't know what counts as heroic anymore." Then simple rule. He tightened the strap at her shoulder. Stay near me. Selene appeared in the doorway. Terrible rule. Cale sighed. Mother. She needs instincts, not shadows. Selene stepped to Lyra and pressed 2 fingers between her brows. Listen to the wolf. Not the panic. Lyra shut her eyes. Beneath terror, something steadier waited. Ancient. Patient. Hungry. When she opened them again, the trembling had stopped. Selene nodded. Better. Then alarms sounded from the inner hall. The enemy had breached the second gate. The battle swallowed the palace room by room. Grand corridors once lined with portraits became killing grounds of shattered marble and torn banners. Cale fought like winter-given claws. Every strike precise. Every movement ruthless. Wolves flew from his blade and fists alike. Silver light burst from his eyes when rage overtook control. Guards rallied wherever he moved. For the king, but the rogues did not break. They pushed with purpose toward the lower royal chambers. Toward Lyra. Selene saw it first. They aren't invading, she said while driving a dagger into an attacker's throat. They're hunting. Lyra, fighting beside 2 shield guards, felt it too. Their gazes kept finding her. Their snarls changed when they smelled her bloodline. One lunged through the melee screaming, "Heir!" She reacted without thinking. Her hand shot forward. Silver force exploded from her palm and hurled him through a stone pillar. Everyone nearby froze. Lyra stared at her own hand. I did that. Selene cut down another rogue calmly. Yes. Continue being useful. Flames spread through the west wing. Smoke rolled across ceilings. The nobles who once mocked servants now begged kitchen maids for escape routes. Mara led children and elders through hidden passages. Even in war, kindness remembered kindness. In the throne hall, Cale drove the last attackers back toward the broken doors. Then the torches went out. All of them. Darkness swallowed the chamber. A new scent entered. Ash. Rot. Old blood. Selene's face hardened. No. From the shadows stepped a tall man in black armor stitched with wolf bones. Half his face was scarred by fire. One eye burned red. The other was pale and dead. He smiled at Lyra. My little ember lived. Lyra staggered back. Memories slammed into her. Fire. A castle collapsing. Her mother screaming. This man laughing. She whispered, you. Cale moved in front of her instantly. Name yourself. The man bowed mockingly. Lord Malrek. Last warlord of the Ash Fang. Selene's blade rose. I watched you die. You watched the wrong body. He chuckled. I had help. His gaze slid toward the corridor. Master Dorian stepped from the shadows. Alive. Trembling. Broken by guilt. Lyra stared in disbelief. You raised me. Dorian couldn't meet her eyes. I hid you. Malrek laughed louder. You caged her. Dorian shouted suddenly, to save her. Silence cracked through the hall. Dorian fell to his knees. They slaughtered House Aurelian. I took the child before they found her mark. I drugged her memories. Kept her small. Invisible. Lyra's voice shook. You made me nothing. I made you alive. Malrek sneered. And now I finish what mercy delayed. He moved faster than sight. Cale barely intercepted the strike meant for Lyra. Steel screamed. The throne hall erupted again. Cale and Malrek crashed through pillars in a blur of claws and blades. Selene dueled 3 elite rogues alone, silver hair wild in firelight. Guards battled everywhere. Dorian crawled toward Lyra. Listen to me, he gasped. Your mother gave me this. He held out a ring engraved with twin wolves and a crescent flame. The moment Lyra touched it, the final memory unlocked. Her mother kneeling before Dorian. Hide her until the moon crown wakes. Tell her she was loved. Lyra broke. Then hardened. Power surged through every vein. The mark on her wrist blazed bright enough to light the hall. Malrek threw Cale aside and turned in sudden fear. No. Selene smiled through blood. Oh yes. Lyra stepped forward as stone cracked beneath her feet. Her shift was no longer partial. Silver-grey fur flowed across her skin like armor. Ears sharpened. Fangs lengthened. Eyes became twin moons. Not beast. Queen. Ancient blood recognized itself. The rogues faltered. Some dropped to their knees instinctively. Malrek roared and charged. Lyra met him head-on. Their collision shattered the throne dais. He was larger, brutal, battle-scarred. She was faster. He swung claws for her throat. She ducked, drove a glowing strike into his chest, and sent him through the throne itself. Kale rose, bleeding and stunned. Selene simply folded her arms. Good hips, she commented. Kale blinked. Mother. She pivots well. Malrek staggered up laughing blood. You think strength makes you ruler? No, Lyra said, voice layered with wolf echo. She looked around the burning hall. This does. She raised both hands. Every wolf loyal to Silverfang felt it instantly. A call older than crowns. Stand. Fight. Protect. Their howls shook the palace. Guards surged with renewed fury. Rogues broke ranks. Malrek's smile vanished. Lyra advanced. For my mother. Strike. For my stolen years. Strike. For every servant told they were small. Final strike. Silver claws pierced his chest. Light erupted. When it faded, only ash remained. The ash fang symbol burned away with him. The surviving rogues fled into storm and darkness. The battle ended in rain, smoke, and exhausted silence. Kale approached Lyra slowly. She stood in ruined hall, still half-shifted, chest rising hard. Beautiful. Terrifying. His. He reached out. Lyra. She looked at him and collapsed. He caught her before she hit stone. Selene checked her pulse. She lives. Kale exhaled shakily. She frightened me. She should, Selene said. Then softer. She will frighten kingdoms. As healers rushed in and dawn's first pale light touched the broken throne room, one truth stood among the ruins. The servant girl was gone. The last heir had awakened. And the moon crown had chosen. The crown chose the servant. Dawn rose over ruins. Smoke drifted from shattered towers. Rainwater ran red through broken stone channels. Burned banners clung to walls blackened by fire. The once glorious throne hall stood open to the sky where part of the ceiling had collapsed. Silverfang Palace had survived. Barely. Servants carried water. Healers bound wounds. Guards cleared rubble and counted the dead with bowed heads. No one complained. Because everyone alive knew why they still breathed. A servant girl had stood where nobles fled. A hidden heir had answered when kings bled. And somewhere inside the palace infirmary, she slept. Kale had not left her side. He sat beside Lyra's bed in the healer's chamber, elbows on knees, armor discarded, shirt torn, dried blood still at his temple. The mighty Alpha King looked less like a ruler and more like a man afraid to blink. Lyra lay pale beneath linen blankets, dark hair spread across the pillow, wrist mark dim but visible. Every few breaths, silver light flickered beneath her skin. Queen Selene entered quietly carrying tea. You look terrible. Kale did not glance up. I feel worse. She handed him a cup. He ignored it. Selene sipped hers instead. You fought 12 rogues, a warlord, and your own stubbornness. Drink. He took the cup. After a moment he asked, why won't she wake? She burned years of locked power in one night. The body demands payment. Will she recover? Selene looked at the sleeping girl. Yes. Then added dryly, unfortunately for your peace. Kale almost smiled. Then Lyra stirred. Both were at her side instantly. Her lashes fluttered. She opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was Kale. The second was Selene pretending not to worry. Lyra frowned weakly. Did we win? Kale exhaled something close to laughter. Yes. Good, she whispered. I'd hate to wake for bad news. Then she tried to sit. Both pushed her gently back down. Rude, she muttered. Selene's smile was quick and proud. She'll live. By noon, word had spread across the kingdom. The lost heir of House Aurelian had awakened. The Ashfang warlord was dead. The palace servant who scrubbed floors had defended the throne. Crowds gathered outside the gates despite the smoke and rubble. Commoners, farmers, soldiers, kitchen boys, widows, children perched on barrels. They did not ask for jewels or spectacle. They asked to see Lyra. Inside the council chamber, nobles objected immediately. This is reckless, Lord Varos snapped. Her claim is unverified. It was verified by the blood chamber, Selene replied. Ancient magic can be manipulated. Selene's gaze silenced him mid-breath. Another noble tried a softer route. She is untrained, untitled, emotionally unstable. Kale rose slowly from his chair. Careful. The noble sat back down. Selene folded her hands. You all praised Seraphina because she was polished. You dismiss Lyra because she is real. No one answered. Because no one could. Then the chamber doors opened. Lyra entered. Still pale. Dressed simply in dark trousers and a fitted tunic borrowed from training stores. Hair braided back. No jewels. No crown. Yet every voice died instantly. Power moved with her now, quiet but undeniable. She looked at the nobles. I hear my instability is a concern. No one moved. She continued. So is your breathing. Yet here we all are. Kale covered a smile with one hand. Selene did not bother hiding hers. Later that afternoon, the palace courtyard filled with the people of Silverfang. Broken walls had been draped with fresh banners. Workers stood beside warriors. Servants stood beside lords. For once, rank blurred. At the center platform rested an ancient object brought from the vaults. The moon crown. Forged of silver-white metal, shaped in sweeping wolf arcs and crescent flame. It had not been worn since old alliances shattered decades ago. Selene addressed the crowd. By blood, by battle, and by witness, the heir of House Aurelian stands among us. Cheers thundered. Lyra looked overwhelmed. Selene's voice rose again. By courage shown when titles failed, she stands worthy. Louder cheers. Then Selene turned to Lyra. Kneel. Lyra blinked. What? Kneel, child. This is not the dramatic part. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Lyra knelt. Selene lifted the moon crown. But before placing it, she paused. Then looked at Kale. Do you object? He stepped forward, eyes fixed on Lyra. With my whole heart. Gasps spread. Lyra stared up in shock. Then Kale knelt beside her. I object, he said softly, because crowns should not come alone. He turned fully to her. The world disappeared for both of them. I met you as a servant, he said. Then as a mystery. Then as the bravest wolf in my hall. His voice lowered. My wolf chose first. My heart took longer, because it is slower than he is. The crowd laughed gently. Kale's eyes never left hers. Lyra Aurelian, stand beside me. Rule with me. Fight with me. Annoy me for the rest of our lives. Selene muttered to a nearby lord, romance clearly skipped a generation. But her eyes shone. Kale continued. Be my mate. Silence held the kingdom. Lyra's lips trembled. You nearly got us killed 3 times. Twice. 3. Then marry me and supervise. She laughed through tears. Yes. The courtyard erupted. Howls. Cheers. Weapons raised. Children screaming with joy. Kale kissed her as the sun broke through storm clouds. Silver light spilled across them both. That evening, beneath a repaired arch in the moon garden, the bonding ceremony began. No lavish excess. No false nobility. Only those who had stood true. Mara carried flowers. Kitchen staff lined the path proudly. Guards in dented armor stood witness. Selene herself bound Lyra and Kale's wrists with silver ribbon. Any final doubts? She asked. Kale answered, none. Lyra answered, several. Selene nodded. Healthy marriage. More laughter. Then she cut her palm lightly, cut Kale's, cut Lyra's, and joined their hands over Moonstone. Ancient light rose around them. The mating bond sealed. Kale inhaled sharply as their souls locked. Lyra swayed toward him as if gravity had changed. Their matching marks appeared at the wrists, crescent flame wrapped by wolf claw. The crowd howled approval to the sky. Weeks passed. Silverfang rebuilt stronger than before. Servants gained wages and voice in council matters. Training schools opened for unshifted wolves. The kitchens received new ovens by royal decree after Lyra threatened rebellion otherwise. Lord Varos learned humility after being assigned public latrine restoration by Queen Selene for character. And in the restored throne hall, 2 seats stood equal beneath the carved moon. Kale ruled fiercely. Lyra ruled fairly. Together, dangerously. One evening, as snow began to fall outside, Kale found Lyra in the old laundry chamber staring at the shelves. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Remembering." She touched a wooden basin. "I thought my life began in rooms like this." He came behind her, arms around her waist. "It did." She leaned back into him. "I was no one here." He kissed her temple. "No," he said softly. "You were the crown before anyone knew where to look." From the doorway, Selene cleared her throat. "If you two are finished being unbearable, council waits." They separated guiltily. Lyra grinned. "You eavesdrop." "I own walls," Selene said. Then she looked at Lyra not as queen to queen, but as mother to daughter. "You came dressed as a servant once." Lyra smiled back. "So did you." Selene's laughter rang through the hall. And Silverfang, at last, sounded like home. And so, the servant they ignored became the queen they needed. The girl they mocked carried royal blood. The wolf they feared became their protector. And the king who once searched for the perfect bride, found his true mate where no one thought to look. But power always leaves shadows behind. The Ash Fang may be gone, yet whispers of darker enemies are already rising beyond the mountains. And now that Lyra wears the moon crown, every kingdom will want something from her. Will she rule in peace, or face a war greater than the last? If you enjoyed this story of love, destiny, and revenge, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more epic werewolf romance tales. Because the next legend is already howling in the dark. If you loved this story of hidden royalty, fierce romance, and werewolf destiny, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next thrilling tale. Comment below, did you know Lyra was the true queen from the beginning? And stay with us, because the next werewolf legend is closer than you think.